Here's your story draft. I'm pregnant. I don't know what to do. For a second, I honestly thought the message had landed on the wrong phone. Then I looked at the sender's name, Claire, my husband's younger sister. The grocery bag I was carrying slipped from my hand and oranges rolled across the kitchen floor. I barely noticed. I just stood there staring at the screen while the dishwasher hummed beside me, and rain tapped softly against the windows. 32 years of marriage, 32 years of trust, and one text message had just ripped a hole through all of it. My husband, Daniel, had left his phone on the counter while he was outside mowing the lawn. I had never been the kind of wife who checked messages or searched pockets. We had built a quiet life together in a small Ohio town. We paid bills. We watched old movies on Friday nights. We argued about little things, like where to plant tomatoes in the garden. Affairs belong to other people's stories. At least, that's what I thought. The phone buzzed again. Please answer me. I'm scared. My chest tightened. I tried to think logically. Maybe Claire was asking her brother for advice. Maybe she had sent the message to the wrong person. Maybe there was some innocent explanation. But if there was, why did my hands suddenly feel cold? I picked up the phone before I could stop myself. The conversation thread was almost empty. Only those 2 messages remained. Everything else had been deleted. That hurt more than I can explain. I heard the lawnmower shut off outside. Daniel would be back inside any minute. A reasonable person would have waited and asked questions. Instead, I did something I'm not proud of. I typed a reply. Come over. Emily isn't home. I pressed send. The phone nearly slipped from my fingers. A few endless seconds passed. Then the little typing bubble appeared. My heart pounded so loudly I could hear it. Finally, her answer came. Okay, I'll be there in 20 minutes. No confusion, no questions, just okay. I put the phone back exactly where I had found it and walked into the laundry room. I sat on an old folding chair and stared at the wall. The dryer buzzed. Somewhere down the street, a dog barked. The whole world carried on while mine seemed to stop. Daniel came inside a few minutes later smiling. Looks like it's going to storm, he said. I forced myself to nod. You all right? I almost laughed. After 3 decades together, he could still tell when something was wrong. But he had no idea what was happening inside my head. I'm just tired, I whispered. He kissed my forehead, grabbed his truck keys, and said he needed to pick up a few things from the hardware store. The moment his truck disappeared down the road, I locked the front door and waited. At exactly 6:47 p.m., a silver SUV pulled into the driveway. Claire stepped out. She looked nervous, not guilty, not excited, terrified. That should have calmed me down. Instead, it made everything worse. I opened the door before she could knock. The second she saw me, the color drained from her face. Emily? She whispered. I folded my arms. Come inside. She obeyed without saying another word. The silence between us was unbearable. Finally, I looked directly at her and asked the question that had been tearing me apart. Is the baby Daniel's? She stared at me. Then she blinked. Once, twice, and suddenly she started crying. Not quiet tears, the kind that shake your whole body. Oh my God, she whispered. You think I'm having an affair with my own brother? I didn't answer. I couldn't. She covered her face with both hands. No, never. Emily, I swear. Then why send him that message? She looked down at the floor. Because I didn't know who else to call. I wanted to believe her. I really did. But the deleted messages, the secrecy, the immediate agreement to come over, none of it made sense. She took a shaky breath. The baby's father left 2 weeks ago. I stayed quiet. He said he wasn't ready to be a father. He packed his things, disappeared. Her voice cracked. I'm 45 years old. I thought I'd never be starting over again. For a moment, the anger inside me softened. Only a little. Then why Daniel? She hesitated. That hesitation made my stomach twist. Claire. She looked up at me with red, exhausted eyes. Because he's been helping me. What does that mean? Another silence. Then she whispered something I never expected. I'm losing the house. I frowned. What? My medical bills kept piling up after Mom got sick. I took out loans. I fell behind on everything. Tears rolled down her face. I didn't tell anyone because I was embarrassed. And Daniel knew? She nodded. He's been helping me pay the bills. I felt the room spin. How much? She looked away. I don't know exactly. How much, Claire? About 20,000. I just stared at her. Daniel and I had spent years cutting coupons and delaying vacations because we thought retirement would be difficult. We drove an old truck because we believed we couldn't afford a new one. And somehow, he had quietly given away $20,000. You're lying, I whispered. She shook her head. He told me you knew. My heart stopped. What? He said the family had agreed to keep it private. I grabbed the edge of the kitchen counter to steady myself. What family? Claire's expression changed. The moment she saw my face, she realized she had said too much. Oh no, she whispered. What family? She pressed her lips together. Claire. She looked like she wanted to disappear. Last year, she finally said, your Uncle Harold passed away. I nodded slowly. He had been Daniel's favorite uncle. He left Daniel everything. I frowned. What are you talking about? The farm, the investment accounts, the savings. She swallowed hard, almost $2 million. The kitchen became completely silent. I thought about every conversation Daniel and I had shared over the last 5 years. Every time we worried about money. Every time we postponed repairs. Every time he told me we had to be careful. All the while, he had been living with a secret. Not just from me, from everyone. Claire wiped her eyes. He didn't want the family fighting over money. He said if people knew, they would expect things from him. So he helped quietly. He paid debts, covered surgeries, helped me, helped your brother after he lost his job. And he never told me? She didn't answer. She didn't have to. I heard Daniel's truck pull into the driveway. Neither of us moved. A few seconds later, the front door opened. He stepped inside, carrying a paper bag from the hardware store. Then he saw us sitting at the kitchen table. He looked at Claire, then at me, and somehow he understood. The smile disappeared from his face. For a long moment, nobody spoke. Finally, I asked the only question that mattered. How long were you planning to keep me in the dark? He closed his eyes. I thought I was protecting everyone. I laughed, but there was no humor in it. No, I said quietly. You were protecting yourself. He started to explain. He talked about responsibility, about family, about not wanting people to change, about trying to help without creating problems. But I barely heard him, because I wasn't thinking about the money. I was thinking about trust. I had spent years believing we carried every burden together, every fear, every decision. And now I realized my husband had been living an entire second life, one built on good intentions and hidden truths. That night, Claire went home. Daniel and I stayed at the kitchen table until long after midnight. We talked, we cried, we argued. But somewhere between the silence and the tears, I realized something painful. The message had not destroyed my marriage. It had simply opened a door that had been locked for years. The affair I imagined never existed. The betrayal did, and sometimes the hardest thing to forgive isn't cruelty. It's discovering that the person you trusted most never believed you deserved the truth. Here's the story draft. My husband's phone lit up while I was folding laundry. I wasn't trying to invade his privacy. I wasn't one of those wives who checked messages or searched through pockets. After 30 years of marriage, I thought we were past that stage. But the screen was facing up on the coffee table, and the message was impossible to ignore. I'm pregnant. I don't know what to do. For a second, I thought I had read it wrong. Then I looked at the sender, Megan, my husband's younger sister. The basket of clean clothes slipped from my hands. Tiny socks and towels scattered across the living room floor. But I couldn't move. I just stood there, staring at those 6 words while the grandfather clock in the hallway ticked louder than I had ever noticed. Outside, the sprinklers watered the front lawn. Inside, my whole life seemed to stop. Nathan was upstairs taking a shower. I could hear the water running through the pipes. The smell of the beef stew I had been cooking filled the kitchen. It was supposed to be an ordinary Thursday evening. Instead, it became the night I questioned everything. The phone buzzed again. "Please answer me. I'm scared." I felt my stomach drop. Megan wasn't just my sister-in-law. She had spent holidays at our house. She called me whenever she needed advice. I had sat beside her during her divorce and held her hand at our mother-in-law's funeral. And now she was sending my husband a message like that. I tried to be reasonable. Maybe she had texted the wrong person. Maybe she wanted her brother's advice. Maybe. But then I opened the message thread. Everything before those 2 messages had been deleted. Every single conversation. I heard the shower turn off upstairs. Nathan would be coming down any minute. A reasonable person would have waited. A reasonable person would have asked questions. Instead, panic won. My fingers moved before my mind could stop them. I typed a reply. "Come over. Emily is out." I pressed send. My heart pounded so hard it almost hurt. A few seconds later, the little typing dots appeared. Then her answer came. "Okay, I'll be there in 20 minutes. No confusion. No questions. Just okay." I put the phone back exactly where it had been and carried the laundry basket to the bedroom. My hands were shaking. I folded the same towel 3 times because I couldn't think straight. Nathan came downstairs wearing jeans and an old college sweatshirt. "You all right?" he asked. I forced a smile. "Just tired." He studied my face for a second. 30 years together teaches people things. He knew when I was upset. "You want me to grab dessert from the bakery?" he asked. "I have to stop by the hardware store anyway." "No, I'm fine." The moment he left, I locked the front door and waited. I kept checking the clock. 6:42, 6:40, 6:57. At exactly 7 o'clock, headlights pulled into the driveway. Megan stepped out of her car. She looked exhausted. Not guilty, not happy, terrified. For a brief second, a small voice inside my head whispered, "What if you're wrong?" I ignored it. I opened the door before she could knock. The moment she saw me, the color drained from her face. "Emily? Come inside," I said quietly. She stepped into the house without another word. Neither of us sat down. Finally, I looked directly at her. "Is the baby Nathan's?" Her eyes widened, then she covered her mouth. "Oh my God," I folded my arms. "Don't lie to me." She stared at me for several seconds before tears filled her eyes as, "You think I'm having an affair with my own brother?" I didn't answer. She started crying, not dramatic crying, the kind that comes from complete exhaustion. "No," she whispered. "Never, I swear." "Then explain the messages." She wiped her face with her sleeve. "The baby isn't Nathan's." "Then why did you text him?" "Because I didn't know who else to call." I wanted to believe her, but I couldn't forget the deleted messages. I couldn't forget how quickly she had agreed to come over. Megan took a deep breath. "I was seeing someone for almost a year," she said. "When I told him I was pregnant, he left. I stayed quiet. He blocked my number. I've been dealing with this alone for 2 weeks." The anger inside me softened. Just a little. "Then why my husband?" She looked down at the kitchen floor. "Because he's been helping me." My stomach tightened. "What does that mean?" Another silence. Then she said something I never expected. "I'm about to lose my house." I frowned. She explained that after her divorce, she had taken care of their father through a long illness. Medical bills, loans, and credit cards had buried her. She had hidden the truth from everyone. Except Nathan. "He's been paying my mortgage," she whispered. I stared at her. "How much?" She hesitated. "Megan. Almost $18,000. I couldn't breathe. Nathan and I had spent years talking about money. We postponed vacations. We delayed replacing our old car. Last winter, we argued for weeks before agreeing to repair the roof. Yet somehow he had $18,000 to give away. "How?" I asked. Megan looked confused. "You really don't know?" My heart sank. "Know what?" She closed her eyes. "I thought he told you." "Told me what?" She looked toward the front window as if she wanted to run. Then she whispered the sentence that changed everything. "Your husband inherited Grandpa Walter's estate." I blinked. "What?" "He inherited everything." The property, the investment accounts, the savings. Her voice trembled. He promised Grandpa he would quietly help the family when they needed it. I just stared at her. How much are we talking about? She looked ashamed. A little over $3 million. The room felt smaller. I thought about every time Nathan told me we needed to save money. Every time I worked overtime at the library. Every time I skipped buying something because I thought we couldn't afford it. All those years, he had carried a secret life without me. The front door opened. Nathan walked in carrying a paper bag. He stopped the moment he saw us sitting in the kitchen. His face changed instantly. He looked at Megan, then at me, and somehow he knew. He slowly set the bag on the counter. How much did she tell you? I felt tears burning in my eyes. Apparently everything except why my own husband never trusted me enough to know the truth. He sat down heavily. I wasn't trying to hurt you. No? I promised Grandpa I wouldn't let money change this family. I laughed, but there was no happiness in it. So you decided to lie to me for 7 years? I thought I was protecting everyone. I shook my head. No, Nathan, you were deciding for everyone. That conversation lasted until almost 2 in the morning. He explained the inheritance, the secret accounts, the quiet help he had given relatives who were struggling. He said he didn't want people to become dependent on the money. Maybe he believed that. Maybe his intentions were good. But good intentions don't erase years of silence. That night, I realized something painful. The message from Megan wasn't what broke my heart. It was discovering that the man I had shared my entire adult life with had built a wall around a huge part of himself and never once invited me inside. The affair I feared had never happened, but the betrayal was real. Because trust isn't only about loyalty. Sometimes it's about being honest with the person who stands beside you when life gets hard. And if there's one thing this experience taught me, it's that the truth always finds its way into the light, no matter how carefully we hide it. If this story touched you, or if you've ever discovered a family secret that changed the way you saw someone you loved, remember that you're not alone. Thank you for spending these moments with me. And if you enjoy emotional stories like this, don't forget to subscribe and join us for the next one.